Good morning. Hello again. It's not 11 p.m. right now, obviously, but I still didn't exactly manage to sleep through the night, partially due to my own actions. Yesterday was a weird day, or an interesting day. I feel as though things were being brought to the surface, which is a good thing, I suppose. No, it is a good thing. It's just still confusing, and I still don't know what to make of it. So I went to work after yesterday's video log and had to work longer than usual. Truthfully, my day wasn't terrible, but I think just because of the lack of sleep, I was very eager to get the day over. But during my shift, a friend that I had sort of distanced myself from was there, and we had a brief conversation which just sparked some thoughts that trickled down through the rest of my afternoon, evening after work. Essentially, it brought up feelings of me wondering if I am actually at some level afraid of maybe not intimacy, but afraid of connection. I've grown very adept to being on my own, and I've had to do a lot of my internal work on my own. The peers that I had weren't always focused on the same growth, and I was aware that I didn't want to be held back by that. Over the years, I've just gotten very adept to leaving people behind or having to cut people out of my life. I feel like on one end, I was overly loyal to people at times, people who didn't deserve that loyalty. So naturally, I learned that I can't keep everyone, and sometimes even the people you want to keep aren't really aiding in your life in a positive way. If anything, they may be holding you back to old patterns, to old ways of being, etc., etc. And if nothing else, I am committed to growth. So I've gotten very comfortable letting people go. And there have been times in the past where I've felt intuitively led to let people go, even though nothing seemed wrong, you know? I feel very strongly, at least in some of those occasions, that my intuition was leading me right. But I've found more recently that I'm not really sure what's intuition and what's anxiety. I had a conversation with my cousin who actually brought that comparison up, and I never thought about it like that. I guess I personally would rather take the chance that my anxiety intuition was wrong than to possibly perpetuate a cycle that I already saw had to end, kind of thing. But I've observed a lot of the times when I'm deliberating on this anxiety/intuition/anxiety/intuition that oh, I might have to let this person go. It's hard for me to continue to interact with them without having a clear knowledge of whether I am eventually going to have to break this off. It seems like as soon as that deliberation starts to arise, I feel that it is inevitable that I'm just gonna have to cut this person out for one reason or another. And sometimes those reasons seem valid. A lot of the times the reasons seem valid. But I've noticed a big fear, the fear of the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be to break off, kind of thing. The more toll it's going to take on either one of us or both of us, type of thing. The more we become entwined or connected, the more difficult it's going to be to sever it. And ultimately, I would usually choose to end it as early as possible before things got too attached, essentially. I know upon, reflecting on this, that this comes from those times in the past where I was overly loyal to people and kept them around way long past their expiration date, to the point where I didn't really know how to broach the severance. It seems, I guess, to me, in the way that I conceptualized it, like it would be more of service. It would be more considerate, less confusing to break it off in its early stages than to continue and then have to sort of justify this abrupt ending. The abrupt ending seems more justified if we haven't known each other that long. But I do want connection. And I guess I've convinced myself that if a connection is meant to stay in my life, then I'll just know it. And I think I'm questioning whether that thought is true, especially because of this person. There really wasn't, again, anything wrong with our friendship, our connection. If anything, it was very safe, and I knew I was completely safe to be whoever I wanted to be. I think maybe my lack of boundaries made me question if this was a good time to introduce new people into my life. Because there's a lot that I want to do. There's a lot I want to do. There's a lot I want to work on. And I felt like I was indulgent with this person. Sometimes that indulgence would knock me off my path. Not completely, but, I would sort of be going sideways in regards to my direction and how I wanted my days and my time to be spent. I know it is not a bad thing at all to spend time with friends and not be productive, just enjoy the company of somebody else. And I saw how, time with this person was beneficial in that aspect, but I think I would overdo it. I, in the past, have just had difficulties with balance in that aspect. Being able to get quote unquote back on track after having, a night where I was just loose and free or whatever, just having fun. My past experiences have taught me ultimately that I have to be discerning about who I keep around, who I keep in my circle. But sometimes I feel like I don't keep people around long enough to actually grow a friendship and see if these people could or are actually playing a positive role in my life. I've gotten used to people in my life seemingly being there to teach me a lesson. That's how it's seemed. I've always learned something from this person being in my life and then leaving in whatever manner, or me having to cut them out or whatever. I've grown adept to the people in my life being there to teach me a lesson, essentially. I'm not used to having individuals there that I can just be me around. There's no real agenda, it seems. I guess there's really just also that fear of making the wrong choice. After I saw that person, I had this moment after work where this unknown sadness was arising as I was thinking about that interaction, and I don't know if this fear is warranted. I don't know if the fear is justified. I don't know if I'm overthinking, because I do feel, again, in the past that I was led to let this person go, and maybe it wasn't supposed to be forever. Maybe it was just so I could establish certain things in my life before I introduce a friendship or friendships, etc. I do feel like I have grown a better sense of setting boundaries with myself in order to be able to have times where I indulge a little, but I'm able to get back on track with my goals and my pursuits. So maybe it wasn't supposed to be a severance forever, but even still, I just get so used to being okay on my own that it's scary to think of reintroducing somebody into my life and that possibly being the wrong, quote unquote, wrong decision. This person does make me feel a level of safe that I have been craving for a very long time. I think that also not scared me a bit, but for lack of better terms, we're just going to use that. It scared me a bit because I didn't want to overindulge in it or be seeking that sense of safety and security outside of myself, essentially. When people say, oh, you can call me at any time during the night and I'll be there, they don't always mean that. But this person, I know, if I called them up at 3 a.m. and asked them to come, they would. They would, even if they had work in a couple of hours, type of thing. And I have been in a position where my generosity was taken advantage of. So I'm very aware that I don't want to do that to other people, that I don't want to do that to someone like them. And I think that was also a big part of my reason to distance myself, because I felt like I would rely on them too much. Maybe. I felt like I recognized the old parts of myself that didn't have boundaries in them. And I don't know if that's completely true, I definitely do feel like on some levels it was. The things they described in their interactions with other people were pretty much one-to-one the things that I used to experience, the things that I was very used to experiencing. And I felt like I didn't want to be another person in this other person's arsenal that just took advantage of them, I don't want to be that. But maybe this is also another instance where I'm, I don't know, failing to just take things for what they are, maybe reading into it too much, overthinking about it too much. I do think that the distance and the previous severance was necessary. Again, I've learned a lot in that time, as I do. But maybe this is also a time where I learn what friendship is, or I learn how to keep people around, good people around. I think I was very disoriented also. I woke up, well, re-woke up at like 12:01 today. It's my day off. I had been surviving the previous day off of 1 hour of sleep, so very shortly after I got home, I went straight to bed and then woke up at midnight and then, fell down YouTube rabbit holes for about 3 hours, I guess, my brain looking for a dopamine thing. But after I consciously put my technology away at around 3 a.m., I woke up feeling like, I don't know, like I was recuperating of a night of like smoking weed and, like complete indulgence, but I didn't do any of that last night. Yeah, I watched YouTube for 2 to 3 hours, but that was it. And then I consciously went to bed. I didn't even like overeat or anything, which, stress eating has been a thing in the past and is still sometimes a thing. Yeah, I just woke up feeling very disoriented, like I had done all that stuff and I didn't. Maybe it was just the lack of sleep for the past 2 to 3 days. I feel like this is one of those times where I'm again having to go down to the depths to retrieve something after I feel like I have been in a place of acknowledging how far I've come, and now it's the paradox. They make me aware that I still have so much to learn. And that's really the bulk of what I was feeling yesterday. Ultimately, I do desire connection, but I want connection with the right people. And I guess I did trust myself on some level to know who the right people were, and now I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And it's confusing, and I don't like not having a clear answer about these things. And yes, I do believe there is a divine force, that has their hand in it. And I do feel like they're telling me that this person is a good person and they're somebody I should keep around. But it's not concrete at the center of me. And I don't know if that's, again, just because of my own things that I haven't unboxed, unveiled, worked through yet. I feel like I'm never allowed to really enjoy like my new plateau, which is not completely true. I've been very aware that I'm a different person, that I've grown a lot, and there's a wider, vaster sense of peace within me and trust in myself. But I'm still aware that there will always be more to go, more to do, more to learn, more growing. And I guess, here we are, back at square one of the new level, I guess. Who would think that letting love in would be such a difficult lesson to learn after I've spent the majority of the past craving it? I think it's my resistance to feeling that again being in a position again where I'm craving love I can't have. I don't want to feel that. But in this case, it's not really craving love I can't have. It's, is this love good for me? Is this feeling, is this connection, is it aiding me in my growth, or is it holding me back? Is it keeping me stagnant? And that is what I'm not willing to settle for. I don't want to keep somebody, something, connections around just because they make me feel good. Because, again, a lot of things that make us feel good are not good for us. That is something I'm also used to severing. I will not settle for that because I'm very aware of what it is. I know it's just, it feels good for the time, but this isn't really the direction that I want to keep going. And I guess I'm not certain of where that person falls on that line. I'm very committed to my growth. I'm very committed to achieving and accomplishing, quote unquote, this mission that I feel I'm here on earth to do. And I don't want anybody getting in the way of that. But I also don't want to shut people out in the process of me pursuing this thing. And I guess I'm just not certain on what spirit wants. I know that I can use my human free will to do whatever I want, but I want what is in my highest interest. I don't want to just pander to the human side of me. I know that I am much bigger than that, than these primal instincts, and wanting love and connection is not primal. I think it's necessary, and it's a very beautiful aspect of human connection, and I don't know if it's valid or I'm valid in keeping myself from it at some points. Unfortunately, I don't really see this having a resolution by the end of this video. I feel more at peace. I feel more grounded. I think this form of talking helps. I did reach out to the person after, that brief encounter, and after my whole emotional moments. It is scary, but maybe the fear is, in this case, keeping me from something good. Yeah, like a fearful part from the past trying to keep me protected, But I trust that even if I reintroduce this person and it's not, quote unquote, meant to be, then that's just what it will be. And I trust myself to be able to sever or proceed in the best way possible. With or, without. I trust myself to set boundaries now. When I need to work on stuff for me or I need time for me, I'm going to take that time for me. And I can communicate that. So I guess this concludes the video diary log 3. It does not feel as satisfying as the first 2. I'm also afraid that my memory is gonna cop out again because it's already been giving me the the notifications. So I feel like it's probably best if I wrap it up. I guess I can't expect it to always have some grand ending, some neatly tied bow. It's not really what this is supposed to be anyway. I do feel a lot better than when I first woke up. I guess that's enough.